I know many of you are excited to see Death Becomes Her, the musical, and I'm very happy to say that I had an excellent time seeing this show. I found it to be a lot of fun, very, very funny. I'm very impressed by Marco Pennette. I mean, it's not a surprise to me. I've loved works of his in the past, but I like how he took the material from the movie and modernized it, but in a way that doesn't distract from the original. There were a couple of changes that I do have questions about, but very, very nitpicky stuff. Overall, it's a great time and it's a lot of fun. Like the movie, this story focuses on the great lengths people go to preserve their youth and relevance, especially women of a certain age in Hollywood. A very sad reality, in fact, which does at some points make you question, like, why am I laughing at this? Or am I allowed to laugh at this? Because again, the book is so funny, but it is so true to reality. It's kind of upsetting. But it does feel as though you are watching a Bravo show, like The Real Housewives or something like that. The characters here are so beyond outrageous and absurd that it feels a little farther than reality. The 1992 movie is a film that, in my opinion, gets stronger and stronger on every rewatch, largely because of its messaging, but also because of its excellent performances by Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, Bruce Willis, and Isabella Rossellini. It won, actually, I didn't know this before researching, but it won an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. It beat out Alien 3 and Batman Returns, which I think is a hilarious grouping for the nominations. And the stage special effects are very impressive as well. I was really surprised by this. No corners are cut in terms of what they are able to achieve. And that's to the credit of Christopher Gattelli, the director, Tim Clothier, who was in charge of like the illusions that you'll see on stage, and Cha Ramos, who did the fight direction. All three of them worked so well together to create what feels like the film brought to the stage, which was the goal of it. I don't want to give anything away, but what I will say is that my crowd erupted in applause for some of the physical comedy and special effects. I was a little bit nervous that the musical version of Death Becomes Her would be more of a parody of the film, as opposed to keeping up the satirical tone that the movie so greatly does. But I would say this production goes right up to that line. It like goes right up to parody, but doesn't quite cross it, which I think is really impressive. By focusing on the complicated friendships, particularly among women, the show is able to stay grounded. But also, like, who hasn't been in this type of relationship with someone else? Madeline and Helen are constantly trying to one-up each other. In the movie, I never understood why Helen brought Ernest to go see Madeline's show in the first place, considering the relationship that they've had. But here, Helen just really wanted to show off and show Madeline that she is in a really good place in her life. Madeline, on the other hand, gauges her self-worth based on succeeding in life more than Helen seems to be, which I thought was just so fascinating. Madeline knows her success is reliant on her looks and recognizes the importance of fitting into the male gaze of the entertainment industry, as well as pandering to the male gaze in her audience. The 1992 film, though not a critical success at the time, has grown into a cult classic, becoming notable in pop culture. And some may say that Death Becomes Her is kind of going through a little bit of a renaissance right now, especially as it showed up as the inspiration for one of Sabrina Carpenter's most recent music videos. And this movie is beloved by many, especially men in the LGBT plus community, and the musical very much embraces that audience. Madeline and Helen are two very, very messy divas, and they are played brilliantly by Megan Hilty and Jennifer Simard. They are a comedy match made in heaven, and I predict that both of them will receive Tony nominations for their performances. As for who has the better chance of winning, I'm leaning towards Megan Hilty. Megan Hilty finds room to keep Madeline grounded in the absurdity. And I really felt that desperation that her character experiences as she realized she is aging out of the business. Unfortunately, Helen just comes across as way more cartoonish than the character does in the movie. And that's not a knock against Jennifer Simard. I do think that she was given that specific direction. And in fact, I think that that quality comes straight from the script of the musical. The character just kind of loses a little bit of sophistication as the show goes on, but again, Jennifer Simard is still wildly entertaining. Something else that I feel kind of loses a little bit of sophistication are the costumes. I had a love-hate relationship with the costumes in the show. Madeline's outfits, for example, I loved her nightgown and her leopard print outfit. Those were incredible. But it was weird to me that after she drinks the potion, her outfits seem to like not live up to those first couple of ones, but someone who I think absolutely rocks their costumes is Michelle Williams as Viola Van Horn. She gets the best costumes out of anyone. I mean, Paul Tazwell just was brilliant when it comes to costuming Michelle Williams. Oh, and by the way, Paul Tazwell is the costume designer for Wicked, the movie. So I loved his costumes there. They were a mixed bag in this production for me. Along with looking amazing on stage, Michelle Williams also is showcasing some of the best vocals that you can see on Broadway right now. The way that she lands on her notes and her range is just gorgeous. I really, really liked her performance. I think it's a no-brainer that Michelle Williams will be nominated for a Tony for her performance here. She gets one of the best songs. You can actually listen to the song as part of the preview that they uploaded to YouTube and Spotify. I will say that the songs that you get with the musical preview are the best songs in the show. Much like the costumes, I felt that the songs with music and lyrics by Julia Mattison and Noel Carey started out very, very strong, but then lose steam towards the second half of the second act. So they are strong for the majority of the show. And it's not only the music. I do feel that the story itself loses some of its heart as we approach the ending. I think they try to double down on the messaging of the movie, but they make a really odd choice to the character of Ernest, who is played great by Christopher Sieber. He's wonderful. But they change his occupation. In the movie, Ernest ends up as a reconstructive mortician, which is important to the story because he knows how to make corpses look beautiful. But in the musical, he ends up as a cosmetic plastic surgeon. They're trying to make some sort of a connection between cosmetic plastic surgery and also what Viola is offering, the potion, but it doesn't quite work for me, especially because the character of Ernest doesn't like the fact that he is a cosmetic plastic surgeon. I think that it would have changed things if he was very satisfied with this occupation, but then had some moral concerns about the potion. But here he doesn't like any of it. So it's kind of strange that they try to force that messaging in there. I think they should have just trusted what the movie was saying and gone with that. That's really the only substantial change that I think distracts from the story of Death Becomes Her. Everything else that they did, I think actually streamlines the events of the movie, and I do think it was well adapted for the stage. Here is a view from my seat. I was third row of the front mezzanine center. I had very good legroom and a decent view of the stage. There were a couple of heads that I could see in my periphery that like partially blocked downstage right and downstage left, but it was nothing serious. Like none of the action really happened there, so I didn't feel like it took away from my experience. If I were to purchase my tickets all over again, I think I would have selected seats that were closer to the stage in the orchestra. At points, the stage felt a little bare, which was a bit distracting to me in the mezzanine, and there were some practical effects that I would have liked to have seen up close. So should you see Death Becomes Her before it closes, I think it makes for a very fun night out with friends. And of course, if you are a fan of the film, you're going to want to see the show on Broadway. This is one of those shows that I think you already strongly know if you are going to see it or not. Those are my thoughts on Death Becomes Her, now playing at the Lunt-Fontanne Theater. I would love to read your thoughts in the comment section below. I would also appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to check out some of my other reviews and theater-related content on my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Now, a warning. Remember to stay off your phones while at the theater.